Welcome to I Feel Fat Today. I'm your host, Kelly Taylor. Thank you so much for joining. Pleasure to be here as always. Follow us on Instagram at I Feel Fat Today podcast, where we are posting clips. We got clips of the show at I Feel Fat Today. You can follow me, your host, at Hello, this is Kelly. Forgot about it for a second, but we're back. Wow, my mic is full of dog hair. Okay. Follow us on Instagram. Check us out on YouTube, where we have full video episodes, just like the very one you're watching. Subscribe, like, comment, doing all that really helps me. We got YouTube shorts up there. Comment on all those. If you want some advice from I Feel Fat Today, me, really, the person that's, running this whole thing, you can send me an email, ifeelfattodaypodcast, or ifeelfattoday@gmail.com. If you want some advice. And yeah, I think that covers all the bases. Oh, and leave us a 5-star review at Apple Podcasts. Really helps get it out to the algorithm. All right. We got a great episode today with my guest. We are going to get into it very shortly. But I wanted to give a little, a prologue? A little preview to the episode by going over this one topic. My guest and I discuss a person named Tracy Anderson, and I thought it would be beneficial for, in the first few minutes of the podcast where it's just me and you here, I give you some background on Tracy Anderson, so that way you're not totally lost. Okay, so Tracy Anderson, where's my notes here? Apologies. Okay, so this is straight from the Tracy Anderson website. But if you don't know, Tracy Anderson is basically, she's a self-proclaimed fitness pioneer. And so this woman, Tracy Anderson, started a bunch of these different studios where she has this workout that she created. And it's sort of like Pilates meets dance. And because she has a dancing background. And so Tracy Anderson started this thing called the Tracy Anderson Method, and it's really, really popular with young, New York City influencers and the sort of hot Pilates mom demographic on TikTok. And she's been around for a long time, but as of recently has gotten super, super popular, I would say, in more everyday households, where in the early to mid 2000s, she was sort of like the trainer to the stars. She's backed by Gwyneth Paltrow's Goop, and is like the trainer for Harry Styles, and is just known among the industry. Jennifer Lopez works with her, Olivia Wilde, Victoria Beckham, the list goes on. There's truly so many people. So I want to tell you a little bit about Tracy Anderson, and then we'll get into it with the episode. So Tracy calls herself a researcher, content developer, fitness pioneer. Note, this woman doesn't have a single certification. She's not certified to do anything. She's tenacious, and I think she has good business acumen, not at all qualified when it comes to a certification level to do what she does. I'm not hating. I'm just letting you know. Okay, so fitness pioneer Tracy Anderson's revolutionary method can give anyone, regardless of their genetic shape, strong, lean muscles and create balance where there is imbalance within their body. Tracy knows because she's done it to herself and thousands of others with more than 2 decades of scientific research and content development. Okay, the scientific research isn't out there. There is no way to verify this scientific research. Her marketing is impeccable. I don't know how good her scientific research is. And she said in that, first statement, regardless of your genetic shape, you can use the Tracy Anderson method, which is factually untrue. Like the whole, your genetic shape, you can basically look like me, Tracy Anderson, which, by the way, she is a petite white woman. Okay, very, 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 very tiny. She's a dancer. And so you can't say that you can have a workout program that makes you look a certain way, um, despite your genetic makeup, because that's just not true. Need I say more? Okay, the genesis of the method. After moving to New York City on a dance scholarship when she was 18, Tracy gained 40 pounds, which she could not shake from her 5-foot frame. While her mother is built like a ballerina, her father had battled obesity his entire life, and it was this genetic predisposition coupled with hormonal shifts that undermined all her efforts at the ballet bar. Despite overexercising and undereating, she could not budge the weight. Despairing, she abandoned her dreams of becoming a professional dancer. So after she gained 40 pounds and could no longer be a ballerina, she basically decided to pivot into fitness. And the whole thing with Tracy is that she likes to activate smaller muscles. And that apparently is what gets you to get why you have such benefits from the Tracy Anderson method, is because she doesn't want to activate or use your bigger muscles like a quad. She wants to have you work your smaller muscles, which I don't know what that means, but that's what she says. Yeah. And so the big thing with Tracy Anderson that you need to know is that she is a white woman that creates workout programs essentially for other white women, which is fine. That's great. That, whatever. And I'm not saying you have to be white to do her program, but, she got involved with Gwyneth Paltrow, who, as we know, or is the person behind Goop. And Goop is the brand that had like this candle smells like my vagina, that candle. And just basically any tea or tincture or lotion that will give you eternal life, Goop pretty much sells. And so Tracy Anderson is backed by Goop. And once Gwyneth Paltrow sort of discovered her, it really helped skyrocket Tracy's business. And Gwyneth said that she lost 11 inches. This is back in 2006. She lost 11 inches in the first 10 days of working with Tracy, which is, I think, an alarming statement. Here it's poised as a good thing, but there's no way that that's at all healthy. And it's also not exactly what the everyday consumer can expect to get results-wise from using the Tracy Anderson method. From what I've seen of the workout videos that Tracy puts out, because if you YouTube them, you can find some. Tracy will have these, series of movements that she does without giving many verbal cues as to what the movement you should be doing is or what the next movement is. And I found that to be very interesting and not like any other workout I had really seen, because normally the thing that I like most about at-home workouts or group classes is the direction that you're given, because a lot of times your people are beginners that are in this, and so they need to be told what to do, which she doesn't do. So there's a whole lot about, like the programs that she has that are very expensive, and she uses a lot of really flowery marketing language. Like she has these like series of workout equipment that was all made by like wood, and so it was being sold that this workout equipment doesn't have anything harmful in it for you, as opposed to like a 3-pound dumbbell weights that you could get from Amazon that could have potential harmful chemicals in it. And listen, everything gives you cancer, so I guess that is a niche, but it's also like way more expensive. Whatever. So that's Tracy Anderson. That's her deal. And I thought it was interesting. She has this on her website. Tracy Anderson has, this is from February 2022. She has a what she eats in a day. And without me saying anything, let's just go into it. Okay. So Tracy Anderson says, I firmly believe that you must have a choice in what you reach for to nourish yourself, or you are sacrificing a primal, guttural tool you need to survive and thrive. Diets that overcontrol you switch off inner conversations that define your mental and physical health. Agreed. One thing I believe about balance is we have to harvest our nutrition from the earth and know that there's no such thing as prepackaged nutrition. Okay, not as accessible, but very true. The truth is, your workout takes a little time and your food prep takes a little time, but the return on your investment is a lot more quality time. You're in the driver's seat. Sit with yourself and assess how you feel in relation to potentially unhealthy weight you feel is not serving your health. Maybe you feel your nutrition just isn't optimal, or you lost your healthy, glowy skin and shiny hair. Is your energy off? Is your mood low? Whatever the case may be, we have crafted 4 categories: purees, soups, salads, and mains, for you to see the results of mixing and matching, choosing what sounds good to you or what you are ready to explore making. Morning. I start off my morning with lemon water mixed with a teaspoon of olive oil and a pinch of sea salt. I always have a coffee, and I take it black with a thin layer of oat milk, only ever on top. So that's what we're starting with intake-wise in the morning. Lemon water with a teaspoon of olive oil. I don't know. The lemon water, well, the water is all you need, really. The water is all you need. Lemon is just to really give you the feeling that you're, being healthy, when really that's just for taste. And then the olive oil, I'm guessing maybe that helps aid in digestion. I don't know. For breakfast, I opt for an apple blueberry puree. It has a wholesome sweetness to it, which gives me energy throughout the start of the day. So baby food. She starts off her day with oily lemon water, black coffee, and baby food. It's like if a baby wanted to start a business, that's what they would have for breakfast. Okay, moving on to afternoon. What a satisfying morning. Afternoon. A hot broccoli and cauliflower salad and a parsnip, carrot, peas, and herb puree for lunch. It leaves me satisfied, but never sluggish. So, hot veggies, hot broccoli and cauliflower. Those are two good things. Hot broccoli and cauliflower. And then some more baby food. Tracy Anderson should put out a Tracy Anderson branded baby food, but call it like hot girl food. If you're trying to dodge the dreaded afternoon slump and shift your mind from a bag of chips or a piece of cake, the dreaded afternoon slump where you're dreaming about housing a cake, I have a few options that can work in your favor. Half of a dark chocolate bar, or a dairy-free, allergen-free Enjoy Life chocolate bar, or an additional portion of the baby food. If I feel my mind is spinning and I have nowhere to drive, I will opt for a crisp glass of wine. Okay, this is what I eat in a day I can get behind now that we've introduced wine. So basically, if she's feeling sluggish and she doesn't have anywhere to be that day because, by the afternoon, if you need to drive somewhere, she says, have a nice cold Pinot Gris. I mean, come on. Evening. Again, what a lunch. So you're having your oily water, your fruit baby food. Then you're having your steamed vegetables with your lunch baby food, your veggie baby food. And now we're having a glass of wine, and I'm ready to party. Evening. For dinner, we pair a fennel and pea soup with an herb roasted black cod. The soup is super flavorful and light, and the cod is protein packed and surprisingly hearty. And a little asterisk here, Tracy does not watch her portions with her recipes, and we do not recommend portions for her recipes as they are designed to be enjoyed until you feel nourished. And yes, that would be wise, because having specific portion size on food that has very little caloric value would be crazy. So that's a Tracy Anderson what I eat in a day. And I'm sure for a 5-foot frame, that sounds like it works for her. I'm not a nutritionist. I don't know. I don't know anything about nutrition. But I'm just reporting on what's on the website. If you want to have baby food for your meals, that sounds like something you can do, I guess. It just seems like a very, very light day for the workout that you would be doing with the Tracy Anderson method, because she does also advocate for working out 7 days a week, like not taking any days off. And also, if you go and work out in her studio, apparently they have the room like a hot yoga studio, like incredibly, incredibly hot. So you're sweating a lot. So I guess, I don't know. It just, it seems like hell. It seems like literal hell. And the whole point of this program is to be skinny, which if that's what you want to do, I guess that's one way to do it. It doesn't seem at all sustainable, and it doesn't feel very healthy. It just feels extremely restrictive and hard. But again, what do I know? I'm sure someone on the internet is going to tell me, oh, you look like you could use the Tracy Anderson method or whatever the fuck. You're right. I probably could. All right. Ugh, fucking kill me. All right. Well, that's a little bit about our girl TA. I talk about Tracy Anderson a little bit with my guest this week because she has a close personal connection with Tracy Anderson. And then we have a wonderful conversation about, having a religious background and then going into college and being in sororities. And it's such a great conversation. My guest this week, she is from the Good Girls Gone Sad podcast. She is a stand-up comedian. You should follow her on social media. Please welcome my guest, Syd King. How you doing, Syd?
I'm good. I'm having a lovely day.
I'm so glad.
I went thrifting, and then I got baked goods from a delicious bakery.
Love that.
And
yeah.
Now I get to record a podcast. I'm very excited.
Yes, very exciting. On a very exciting topic.
Mostly we get to hang out. Which
I know.
Is exciting versus it's not the mic of it all. It's
right.
hanging out and chatting.
Right. Yeah. I feel like we've had, and we've talked about this before on your podcast, Good Girls Gone Sad. Make sure you follow. It's a really fun listen. But we've talked about how our off mic conversations would be such good podcasting conversations.
Yes.
We share a lot of the same religious trauma, a lot of good girl trauma. So normally I start off asking my guest where they're from, and you have a very interesting story about that, I think.
Yeah. Oh, the TA of it all?
The TA of it all.
TA of it all. So I am from a suburb of Indianapolis called Noblesville. And in Noblesville, where I was raised very Catholic, which is, we'll get into later, actually is nothing. This is the one story in my life that has nothing to do with me being raised Catholic. But I was very much the energy of the star to be in Annie. $3, 2 bags, 1 me. I was like, that's what my life is going to be. So I started taking acting classes and yada, yada. And my childhood acting coach was Tracy Anderson. None other than the Tracy Anderson. They were like, oh, that Tracy Anderson? That Tracy Anderson. Her mother owned a dance studio that I danced at and did summer stock little theater at called Stone Soup Theater Company.
Oh my God, and I love that name.
It was basically just something for us to do when there was no recitals for ballet. So it was we did anything goes with 6-year-olds. It was a little inappropriate. But
Joe Gorman, my boyfriend, he's got a friend of the show. He had a pretty big role in Anything Goes when he was, I think, in his early 20s.
Oh.
He played a mobster guy. I don't know. We were just talking about that. That's funny. Everyone, my older brother was in Anything Goes. I have so many people in my life that at one point or another have performed.
Donned the tap shoes and did a little jig. Yeah.
Yep.
Anything Goes it's a very fun show. Cole Porter, who did the music, also from Indiana, which is not why we did it as 6-year-olds.
Right.
I was one of the angels. So like there's Hope Hardcore, and she's like a pop star of the time. Pop star is like not, she's like a lounge singer, but like a very famous lounge singer, and she has like 4 backup singers called the Angels. But there was like 15 of us. And so they just like spread out the very few lines all 4 of us had to like 11 different people.
Yeah.
But I remember like my name was Hope, not Hope. It was, because she had like Faith, Hope, Charity, and Love, like the other. And I was like Charity. And I was like, okay, I actually have a name. Hi. Okay, I know I can't do that on mic, but I want to pet you.
It's okay.
Face.
We got video.
Okay,
so it's visual as well.
I'm petting Finnegan. Oh my gosh.
He's
Okay.
a star, the real star. Okay, anyway.
So that's
sorry.
nothing to do with Tracy. That has a little bit to do with Tracy, I understand. But she also like had a little Pilates studio. The acting studio was called East of LA. And it was just this like, she had told us that she was kind of back in Indiana to be with her mom. And she had a son that was like my good friend. And her husband at the time was like good friends with my dad, because he was the athletic director at my high school. And he was like a former NBA player. He was a very nice man. He has unfortunately passed. But so yeah, I had like a lot of family interactions. She like sent me to LA to this like agency showcase. She like went with us to Chicago to get like all my headshots done, because I was like a child actor. It's all very weird. I never really booked anything, so don't look. I have a few like fun modeling shots. That's like pretty much all I got from it.
You got to post those.
I do. Oh, I have in the past, and like now no one cared at the time. But now I feel like I get a little more traction with them.
Yeah,
I
totally.
just like, it's just like all kinds of denim. I'm wearing like patchwork denim clogs and like corduroy with denim patches.
It's like a time capsule.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
And we drove to Chicago, which was like so exciting at the time. I was like, Chicago, this is the big time.
The big city.
The big city of Chicago. And yeah, she like was my mom's Pilates instructor. She'd like been to my house. I've been to her house, like all of it. And she told us that she'd come from LA and like that whole life. And we believed her because she had connections, but we're like, what are you doing here then? And then she kind of just disappeared. This is all alleged.
Yeah.
I'm looking right into the camera. This is all alleged, but it's
Sorry.
okay. I'll pet you if that's what you need. But she, in fact, like went to jail, or she was at least sued for embezzlement and like defaulting on her payments.
So I had heard, because I did a little bit of research.
So you did a little research.
Yeah, I did a little bit of research in preparation of you coming here, and I had seen that she sort of left Indiana abruptly, and I could be wrong. This is just what I saw. Started her studios in LA, her like Tracy Anderson method, I guess, studios in LA. And in doing so, she took all of the equipment from the Indiana studios and then sort of just didn't tell the Indiana clientele that everything moved over to LA. So people showed up to work out and they were like, what?
Yeah,
so
it was literally that abrupt.
Yeah, like
I do
so
kind of
abrupt.
remember that. Yeah.
And so but the legal troubles, again, the alleged legal troubles, I think all worked out because people that had memberships that they couldn't use anymore all got paid back.
Okay.
From that.
Which like would have been my family. Which is
yeah,
crazy.
That's crazy.
But okay, so I don't know if it was embezzlement or something, but she definitely had money problems, and I do believe tax problems, and I think that's kind of what happened. There's an article in Indianapolis Monthly that details this. If you're interested in looking it up,
go to the
but
archives.
basically she, from what I remember, because I was still really pretty young when all this happened, but from what I remember, she basically had this house that she would like rent out because she didn't need her Indianapolis house anymore, but she like never paid the utility bills, and there was like sewage problems and like all of these things. Like she was just like a bad tenant. I don't think she's a bad person. I think she wanted to get out of Indiana the way a lot of us did.
Yeah.
But it was just crazy. Like suddenly she was everywhere after she left Indiana. She like is the reason like Gwyneth Paltrow and Madonna don't speak anymore?
No, I didn't know that.
She like caused their friend breakup.
Because I know Goop really backed Tracy, TA. I know Goop really backed. Give us the tea on.
That's
Gwyneth.
all I know. I don't
Is
know
that
the
they're
tea,
not-
but
you
it's
don't
like,
know why,
But it's
but-
because of Tracy. It was like because of the way that she trained them, or maybe it was like too much time spent with one or the other.
I was gonna say it has to be something like that. It has
Yeah.
to be that, you know, Madonna booked her, but Gwyneth was like, no, I need her because I have a movie coming up, and Madonna was
Yes.
probably like, I have a tour coming up, I need Tracy.
Yes.
Probably something like that.
Yes, and
Speculation.
She was a dancer growing up, so like it is
Right.
all like dancer based things. But she had that infomercial for a long time.
Yes.
That was like the Metamorphosis body or something.
Yeah, I'm
like
gonna
that.
try to find it, and if I find it, I'm gonna put it in right now.
I think every woman deserves to have the body she really wants, and I'm determined to make that happen.
Introducing Metamorphosis by Tracy, a totally unique fitness method that utilizes a completely different kind of movement, customized specifically for your body type, designed to give every woman a perfectly proportioned, tight, toned, strong, and sexy body. Tracy Anderson is one of Hollywood's hottest trainers, with devoted clients like Gwyneth Paltrow, Courtney Cox, Kristen Davis, Molly Sims, and Christy Turlington.
I tried a lot of things and nothing worked for me the way that Tracy's method has worked. If you put the time in, you actually can get the results that you want.
Tracy has been featured in countless beauty and fitness magazines, and Tracy also knows what it's like to diet, exercise, and not lose weight. Tracy says the impossible can be possible.
I've never, ever had such shrinkage in my hip and thigh area, ever.
The secret to the incredible results is strategic muscle engineering. Rather than focusing on the larger muscle groups, Tracy works the smaller accessory muscles, tightening them with the larger muscles and pulling everything in. You get stronger, but you also get tighter and smaller. Unlike one-size-fits-all programs, Metamorphosis by Tracy is customized for you and your body type. Tracy has identified 4 specific body types. One of them is yours. Do you tend to gain weight in the midsection, have a thick waist? Then your body type is abcentric. Or what if you have a small waist with big hips and thighs? Then you're hip-centric. For those of you with a droopy, shapeless behind, you're glute-centric. But what if you've got all of the above? Or none, and just want to get in amazing shape? Your body type is omnicentric. Once you identify your body type, you'll know which one of Tracy's 4 workout systems is right for you. Metamorphosis by Tracy has everything you need to reshape your body. When you call and order now, we'll send you Tracy's complete 90-day body reshaping system. You will receive 9 completely different workouts, all designed to keep your muscles challenged so they don't plateau. Each workout is just 30 minutes and is carefully choreographed by Tracy, so you'll do exactly the right moves in exactly the right sequence. You'll get maximum results for your body type. Combined with Tracy's 30-minute cardio workout, you'll have the perfect recipe for a beautiful body.
Perfect. And that like haunted my family. And then every so often we'd like see her. She was Lena Dunham's trainer, and she like was in a Rock the Vote campaign as Lena Dunham's trainer. I feel like she's just kind of like everywhere. And it was like an inside joke in my family for a long time. But now seeing that she is having this like huge popularity surge in New York with like a bunch of young women, and it's $900. I would just be careful where you put your money.
Yeah.
I think that's all I'm gonna say. Allegedly, but it's good training. Like she's a very, very fit, but it's more just bizarre that this is how
especially, well, your familial connection to her is very funny and very bizarre. Oh, he brought his girlfriend over. Very funny and very bizarre. And just, I find Tracy Anderson's rise to fame and rise to popularity, let's say, so interesting because she's a woman. She's a skinny woman with a dream. She doesn't have any certifications whatsoever, but God bless her. I mean, she is the, you know, in TikTok language, hot Pilates mom, like, you know, sort of savior, so to speak.
something that does make me nervous about the whole situation is that you have to like it's kind of like yogi training.
Yeah.
Like, to become a yoga instructor, like you have to go through this like certification and basically like work for her for free for a long time,
Which
and
is always sus.
yeah. So there's, believe some of the aspects. I know for $900, I'm like, you're not really appropriately paying these people. I haven't done that much research into it, and if you're like, Syd, you're completely wrong, that might be true.
The things that I know are concrete and true are things that you can just see on the internet. Like if you've ever seen a Tracy Anderson workout video, she doesn't really give direction. She'll just do the moves without giving any verbal cues as to what's next or to describe what she's doing. It's all visual, which when you're down on all fours and your television's up there, you're sort of like, now you're craning your neck. And so like, how are you, the person that's doing the workout, supposed to be doing it correctly?
Right.
And I think there's something psychological about the lack of verbal cues. And maybe this is just me sort of uncovering something that isn't really there, but it sort of feels like you have to be in the know of the Tracy Anderson method, someone that does it consistently to not need the verbal cues. And now you're more a part of that club, someone that's been doing it for, let's say 6 months to a year, as opposed to someone that's just joining. I think there's something at play there. But
I do
again,
too.
this is all speculation.
No, that's fair. And I think like you don't get any verbal reassurance.
Yeah.
No one's telling you you're doing a good job. Also, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of possibility for dangerous movement if you're not getting coached at all.
To like kind of hurt yourself. And my other takeaway is because she does have studios all like LA, New York, Hamptons. She has studios all over the place. And something that I saw on TikTok of girls like that are hot influencers but are also kind of funny. They're like, beware if you go to a Tracy Anderson method class, you will be filmed by wannabe influencers within the class. And I'm like, that alone makes me not want to go.
Yeah.
Never mind the scorching hot room or all that.
Yeah. Well, I guess I've actually never taken a TA class.
Yeah, I've only ever seen them on YouTube.
My goal is to one day run into her and be like, it's me. It's Syd King.
Syd King.
And she'd be like, I don't. And I was like,
From East of LA.
From East of LA. And I do remember, like, whenever she would tell people it was called East of LA, someone would go, very east.
That's what I was thinking.
It's like very east, and it had it was like purple and zebra print were like the colors, and I met like lifelong friends from there.
Good. That's great.
And I remember like the big person that she like brought in was this guy Hunter or Forrest. He was the redhead in Cheaper by the Dozen.
Oh my God.
He was from Indiana. And our age, and she was like, look, I have like a successful child star that I can like tote around and like give you guys advice. And because there was also only like maybe 12 of us that she was coaching. The whole thing was extremely bizarre. And yeah, I don't know.
Wow. What do you remember at all? Like what her acting teaching style was like?
She like really taught it. She was trying to teach us like Disney Channel acting. And how to be sad. I was truly like between 7 and 12.
Yeah.
So
hazy.
young.
You don't. Yeah.
But she actually had a lot of like good advice. There was just so few people in like Indianapolis who had ever been on like a set before outside of like maybe an AutoZone commercial. The guy who wrote 588 Empire Today, also from Indiana.
Who knew so much talent came from Indiana?
Yeah, I did a lot of community theater with him. I think his name is Bernie, and I won't give out his last name in case he doesn't want me to. But yeah, a lot of niche popularity from the state of Indiana. So it was like really helpful. She was like, so I had hair down to my butt. I had like gaps in my teeth. And she was like, you are the Nickelodeon science nerd, very Quinn from Zoe 101.
Totally.
And she was like, there right now isn't someone your age that doing that. Like, we're going to lean into that. And she would like coach me through monologues. And I had really bad ADHD. So she just like helped me channel that into being a good actor. She was a good acting coach.
Yeah, she sounds.
And she like cared a lot, and she like she had like all these really great connections. So I don't have anything against her, except I know I feel like if I ever saw her, she'd be like, what? I don't know who you are.
Right.
I've never been to the state of Indiana. And I'm like, I don't hate on Indiana. I think it's pretty bad form to resent where you're from.
Yeah.
I think you can like resent things in your past for sure, but I don't know. There's nothing to change about that. You wouldn't be who you are unless you're from where you're from.
I
So,
think there's something beautiful about someone's story that is like from a place where all they want to do is get out. I'm the same way with New Jersey. I was born there. I couldn't wait to get out, and now it's like couldn't be more proud that that's where I'm from.
yeah.
Because you are able to see the good stuff that comes out of your, state. And your state only, like your home state or hometown or whatever, only sucks because it's all you know. And in your imagination, you think like there's so much more out there for me. And evidently there is.
There is. Yeah. I mean,
But going home always feels good. Are
Yeah.
your family, like your
No.
mom, dad? No, everyone's gone.
Everyone's gone. Everyone's gone. My high school best friend's parents are still there. And like sometimes so like if I have to go back to Indianapolis, I like stay at their house.
Yeah, that's so nice.
And then shout out to the Brotons. And I went to school in Indiana, so like if I go back for college stuff, I go back to the state of Indiana, and my aunt and uncle still live there. Well, I guess just kind of my aunt. My uncle coaches at another school and kind of like goes back and forth. But no, I think there's a lot of like great things about being from Indiana. I also, like I said, I was raised very religious. And I think that if I wasn't, I would be a much more annoying person. Like if I grew up in New York, like I dreamed that I would have, I would have absolutely Taylor Momsened my way into oblivion. Like I would have just been so annoying. I would have been, but Mom, I want to go to fashion school. Or Dad, I want to go to fashion school. This is a Gossip Girl reference. I hope we're all.
I haven't really watched Gossip Girl.
It's Dan's little sister.
Okay.
And she starts out very preppy and then goes full goth.
Very Taylor
Momsen.
Yeah.
Very Taylor Momsen. And I think that would have been I don't know. I'm just very glad that I grew up one way and then got my own way out instead of sticking with whatever ideals I was taught as a child. And like I do so much critical thinking every day to like rationalize things that are going on in my life because I grew up thinking one thing and then going a very different direction. So and I'm glad I'm doing that as an adult instead of not having to think. Yeah. Is that too cryptic? Does that make sense?
I know what you mean. But so I want to ask, I think it's interesting with you having grown up with religion that Disney was sort of like the form that your acting sort of took, because I remember, I'm sure we all remember, everyone listening, remember the promise rings via the Disney Channel. Like there was a real purity culture within Disney. So it didn't, even though you were adjacent or trying to be in the evils of Hollywood, you were doing it the Disney way. More safe and pure and.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I think I was scared of anything that wasn't safe and pure. So like I probably wouldn't have done anything really either.
Yeah.
Like outside of that. And also that very much was my type. Like I could have been like sick girl in basement.
Right.
I absolutely could have been sick girl in basement. But I think I wouldn't have wanted to be in a scary movie. So I probably would have like got into the room for it and was like, is there gonna be monsters in this? That sounds really scary.
I'm actually really scared.
That sounds really scary. I was more of like a girl in a Smucker's commercial.
Totally.
Like, that was my energy.
You really are like the face of an Uncrustable.
Because I was full of them. I was full of Uncrustables. I did I looked just like Samara from The Ring. Actually growing up, which could be like cute science nerd or like terrifying child. And but I think too there was kind of this undertone of like, well, I'm religious, but I was much more religious than my parents. My sister and I just like went to Catholic school, and we like turns out we're both like neurodivergent or like anxiety, things like that, and like rules ended up being very, very important to us.
Right.
And so we were like, following these rules makes us good people. Easy peasy. We would love to do that for our own separate reasons. But I mean, I did a lot of musical theater, and one of my favorite musicals was Spring Awakening, which is hilarious because I was like drastically pro-life. So my takeaway at the time from Spring Awakening was, well, yeah, she shouldn't have had sex.
Right. You kind of stepped in that one.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, you gotta like should have had sex, and she wouldn't have like got the bunch of abortion. Awful. That's an awful. That's wrong. I want to get that out there. That's not the right
You
takeaway
can't,
from that.
there's something about your ideals as a child where it's like, you can't blame me. Like, that's
Right.
just what I thought. Like,
Right.
you know, I'm totally in the same boat. I like was part of Chastity Club, like totally pro-life. Like,
I was doing the best I could, but
yes.
I do remember a specific moment in time where I was driving to a Planned Parenthood to pray outside the Planned Parenthood. We never accosted people. We would just say the rosary outside. But I was listening to Rent on the way. I was singing along to Rent on the way.
Juxtaposition of that.
Right. And I was just like, well, this is like real life, nitty gritty. Like, these are the people that I'm saving. I'm saving these people from themselves. They're just looking for someone to help.
Totally. And I so relate to that like weird juxtaposition, because it's like I was like a conservative, pro-life girly, but like was obsessed with like punk rock, you know, but where all the music was about like taking down the government.
Which I think actually, you know, taking down I don't know. Christians were kind of into that.
Yeah, Christians were.
Like, there was a lot of Carmel High School sweatshirts on January 6th.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that's brave.
Yeah.
Well,
identifiable,
but
brave.
But okay, so just to finish that thought,
please,
really
sorry.
quick. So like for example, I had a dream of being in Spring Awakening, never as Wendla. I would never have sex on stage as a child. But I was like, I really wanted to be Greta. One, because she had 2 braids. And then my mom was like, you would have to say the F word. And I was like, I wouldn't do it. And my mom was like, you would have to say the F word. And I was like, no, totally stuck. It sounds the same way.
Yeah,
like, it sounds the same. And she's like, I don't think you're ready to be on Broadway if you can't say.
You can't do it for the
Can't
arts.
say fuck. Yeah, can't say fuck. And so I think that was like, that's a good example of something that a boundary of mine I wouldn't cross, because I was like really afraid what was on the other side. I think I was like very scared to drink too. I didn't drink until I was in a sorority for a full year without drinking.
Wow, that's actually so impressive. Truly.
Yeah, thank you so much. But it's in the same way that when I was a kid, remember the flexed arm hang for the presidential fitness test?
Yes.
I broke my school's record, which was, I mean, I went to like a 25 person per class, like little Catholic school. But I broke the flexed arm hang record because I thought I was really high off the ground and I was really scared of coming down. So I was up there for a minute and a half.
The motivation of fear,
Right?
Like, that's so impressive, honestly.
So like that's why I didn't drink. I was very afraid to.
Yeah.
But also I was very afraid of getting arrested. Like, I came out of the womb being like, I'm gonna end up in jail one day.
Like coming
so afraid.
coming out of the womb, just like I already know I'm in the wrong, fully. Like it's a whole original sin thing.
I know. I literally was about to be like, that's what baptism's for.
That's like, thank God for baptism, because I came out guilty.
Guilty. And I think I didn't know who I was if I wasn't a goody two shoes. And that I still struggle with a lot. And I think I'm just going to jump ahead here.
Yeah.
So I, like, goody two shoes, like, everybody was not having sex. And then at some point, everybody was. And I have no idea when that happened. I was 26 and going, no one's acting weird about this. I thought we were all acting weird about this still. And even outside of sex, I wanted to get on birth control. I actually wasn't having sex, but I wanted to get on birth control because I have like very heavy period. So I hope everyone is enjoying this conversation.
It's a very relatable conversation,
but
I think.
to me, I was like, I sobbed to my therapist because I was like, I don't think I can do this. It makes me a whore. Being on birth control, like, and I know deep down that wasn't true. And especially like if I wasn't having sex or if I was still like using 3 forms of protection, whatever. Because I was like very late bloomer. And I was like, I don't know. And I think I knew consciously, is like, it is time for me to move on. I can't be a goody two shoes my whole life. Because also like, I didn't really act like one anymore. And I don't, but like still projecting that image was still important to me. I'm 28 now, and yeah, I went on like at the beginning of like this year, like around my birthday, and I hated it. It made me feel crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it made me feel very bad, and then I gained like 15 pounds.
Yep. That sounds like
And I
that
was
sounds
like-
like the trajectory of that experience.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, God's punishing me because I'm a whore.
It's of course it's
And-
God. It's not the
right.
hormones.
No, it's not
or
the hormones, but it was like,
God's will are the hormones.
right, that's still something I had to like talk through with my therapist was, I was like, ugh, I like really wish I hadn't done this.
Right.
Like, I will take the cramps and like the heavy flow
I mean, that is
any day over feeling this way, because I was like, yeah.
if it was not for what Eve decided to do
right.
and biting that damn apple, we
Mhm.
would not have such painful periods. And now we, the women of today, need to bear that brunt
need to bear that brunt and the children.
with no medical intervention.
No. Well, and then I like tried to go on other stuff, and then I was just like, this is rough. So anyway, normally, did I ever feel fat? No. But that was also like a personality trait. Like
Right.
I also like I have ADHD, so I was on essentially speed for years and years and years.
Not very interested in food when you're on speed.
No. Well, my metabolism was just like
Yeah.
crazy. And I was pretty active, so I never really had to worry about it. And it was something that definitely others projected onto me as something very important about myself. So it was just like goody two shoes, skinny, prude, like all of these things. And then moving here, I'm still working on it. It's been 6 years and I'm still undoing all of it.
Yeah.
Because I really didn't know what else to be if I was not those things.
Did you, when you went into therapy, did you have this feeling of like, my therapist is not going to understand how important being good is to me? Because I had that feeling.
I didn't have that feeling because my friends were like, you are literally a therapist's dream. Like, you've got this good girl thing, you've got religious trauma, they're going to be literally like psychosexual trauma. They're literally going to be so excited to like, talk to you. And the first therapist I had actually kind of didn't get it, and then I felt kind of crazy.
Yeah, that would make you feel crazy for sure.
And she made me feel like I was being a little bit ridiculous, and I think she was kind of
Sorry.
Finnegan thinks I'm being ridiculous.
No,
too.
he's the guard dog. You know what? I'm going to put a quick pin in that. Don't
Okay,
forget
okay.
who you are. Your therapist made you feel crazy.
My
I'll be
therapist
right
made me feel
back.
crazy.
Okay, yeah. So
So,
your
my
first therapist didn't get it.
Yeah, she like didn't get it, and I could like hear her gasping when I was like crying about the birth control thing. I was like, because that was kind of for me my final frontier of like good girl. I had never been on birth control. I had never had to, think about that. Like, even taking the pill every day was like too much, because it was a reminder every day that it was, that I was like, I don't know, it just felt like a sin to take it. And once again, even if I wasn't sexually active, I would have felt that way.
Right.
I'm also like, barely. I have a boyfriend now. Whatever. It's fine. I think I'm 90% sure no one thinks about it, about me specifically, a person having sex, except for me.
Yeah. I mean,
I was like, I feel like it's a normal thing for other people, and for me, I'm like, I actually would. I wouldn't do that. I would never do that.
I think it's, gosh, that's the thing with like, my brain is going a million places because I have so much to say. I think the religious backing plays a huge part in we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And so that's why you feel like you're the only person in the world that has this feeling of like, sex is normal for everybody else, but not for me. For me, it's very much just not something that's normal.
Right.
But sex is so uncomfortable for everyone. And I personally feel like everybody's showboating how easy and normal sex is when in reality we're all freaking the fuck out about it.
Right. And I feel like I don't know, maybe this is still the purity culture in me. I'm like, maybe we should take it a little more seriously, only because I just think like I literally had abstinence only education, which is abstain from everything except education. That is a joke from my set. That's not fair. That's been workshopped. But there are just so many things I didn't know, and I now understand why spring awakening can happen.
Let's pivot.
Okay.
So, how do you think, and like you said, you were like on kind of speed with your, attention deficit disorder. Did you really have a feeling about dieting? Because to me, the child actor, like your weight must come into play.
Yeah, well, like I said, I was already naturally very skinny, and like for a long, it was a joke. Like I literally shopped at the children's place until I was like 14. I could fit. So then it became this kind of like hallmark for me. So I didn't really diet, but I did have an almond mom. So she was always commenting on my weight, and she was commenting on my sister's weight. She's not built the same as me. And we would kind of like go on diets together because she'd be making the food. So like there was a month where all I ate was like ground turkey and mushrooms.
Because that's what was being fed. Yeah.
Yeah. I did actually have a very fond memory of this app, like 0 Point Weight Watchers, like soup. And I really liked that soup.
I know it well.
It's like the butternut squash with like one apple.
Yeah.
Yeah. You like blend it all together. I really liked that soup. I'll give that soup a thumbs up. But yeah, I wasn't really I just didn't have access to like not healthy food, but also like I would have a lot of popcorn for dinner. Like both my parents worked. I'm not blaming anybody.
No, absolutely. I feel the same.
It's not that. But my eating habits have always been kind of weird. And yeah, and then in high school when I was like a smart, skinny nerd, like all of these things that I put on myself. And I wasn't necessarily like a theater kid, and then I wasn't necessarily smart anymore because I started to like fail physics. And before that, I never really had to study for anything. I'm not great at math, but like I could normally work my way around it to like get a B+ or something. And then I like could not do physics. I was in physics, directing a student studio show. I was on varsity cheerleading, and I was also in like 2 separate choirs. Also like on comedy sports, yearbook, if they asked me to take photos, like I just did 1,000 activities, and I simply like actually like could not do it, and someone should have maybe intervened. Because I was also like full IB, which is like if you were taking all AP classes, but you also have to like write paper. It's like this whole diploma program. Okay. Instead of AP, where you just like take a few classes and then take the test, you have to like do all of these accompanying things for the IB program. So I was full IB as well. Yada yada yada. I was not doing well, and the thing I could control. And then so I started. My mom worked at my high school, so I started eating lunch in her office, which was really just me using lunch to get homework done and study and like cram whatever I could.
To just never have a break.
Just never have a break. But then it turned into like, oh, I don't even have time to eat, or oh, I'm not even hungry. And then I didn't touch that. Sorry, touch the microphone. But then it really turned into I'm not eating because that is something I can control, versus a lot of things were kind of out of control at the time. And yeah, I mean, my high school boyfriend, it just kind of like, he tried, but then I was just like, this is my thing that I'm going through, da da da. And he was like, you don't want my help, so I'm going to stop offering. So he tried to intervene. I had a couple of friends who tried to intervene, but like, also what high school girl wasn't going through that at the time? Totally. So like, no one was really there. We couldn't support each other.
It was the blind leading the blind. Yeah. And there's also something that feels like, this maybe is too harsh of a word, but it's the only one that really comes to mind. It kind of feels like when your friends are trying to help you when they see that you're in an obvious situation of needing help, it kind of feels a little bit like assault. Like you're assaulting the way that I am handling things right now. Mm-hmm. You are really challenging the life that I have created, and that I kind of know how to keep all these plates spinning. Mm-hmm. And you coming in to try to derail that is really messing me up. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It feels very threatening.
Yeah. Yes.
And also the idea of like I don't know. Maybe I don't want to have that thought. I was just saying, like, your high school boyfriend trying to help you. It's like, what do you know? Like, you don't know.
Right. I think he knew I was too small. He knew I wasn't
Right.
eating, and he was trying to help. But I think deep down, I thought, I was like, my mom will do something if it's that bad.
Right. My mom.
She sees me not eating. Right. She kind of knows, but I also think for her, I'm just gonna block her from my story. Like for her, she was living vicariously through me in a multitude of ways. I also
As mothers do.
As mothers do.
It's not it's not to disparage. I know my mom did the same thing of like having me do activities that she did.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Through pageantry, through musical theater, like I did pageants, musical theater, being skinny, being a cheerleader, joining a sorority. I kind of, in hindsight, did for her. It was very important to her. And there was like a lot of things in life that I was like, well, if my mom did this and she did, like, I really respected her. Like, if I end up like her, great. And my body was something that she kind of hyper focused on. She would say things like, if I had a stomach that flat, she's like, I want to force you to get your belly button pierced.
Right.
Like,
right. Be a little bit of a bad girl because you have the body for it.
Right. Or she just, yeah. And I was like, that made me so uncomfortable to think about to this day. Mostly just because I'm like, in my belly button?
And I know. I am like so irked out by belly buttons. Like fully irked.
Well, also I was a cheerleader and I was a flyer. And so like.
You can't be having that.
No, because I could get ripped out.
Yeah. Oh, no.
And I also, I was like, no. I just didn't want to draw attention to myself in that way. And she kind of, I do think I needed to be pushed along a little bit because I was very conservative. I needed to be pushed along like a little bit. But, I was just kind of like coming from all angles. Like, I remember, it wasn't just her. I remember one time I wore this like sweater dress to mass. And this guy who was also in the choir was like, that's a little short for mass, don't we think?
Oh, shut up, guy.
That, and I was singing, so like I was in front of everybody, but he said it like I couldn't go home and change. And then I just had to like sit there and do the whole thing. And I don't know.
How old was this guy?
Christian teen. He was probably 16, 17. Like we were all in high school. But like.
That's so weird.
Christian teen peers, rough go. I feel bad for Christian teen men, Catholic teen men. What goes on in y'all's brains? That's really a rough. I can't imagine. I can't imagine that. But and then like our vice principal, during the opening of said show I was directing, I wore this like one shoulder sequin dress that came like full coverage,
right,
as far as one shoulders go. Like came halfway down my calf, like it wasn't too short, and I had tights on and like an ankle booty.
I believe you.
But and then she kept being like, aren't you a little cold? Aren't you a little cold?
So weird.
So then somebody like loaned me a blazer, and thank God I pulled it off. It was actually kind of a sleigh outfit with the blazer, but like I remember being like, I didn't even comprehend what she was saying because I was like, well, this dress is completely fine. And my mom's like, she's saying that you're not dressed appropriately.
Right.
And my mom actually kind of went to bat for me on that. She was like, don't tell her that. That's not fair. Like it follows dress code because you're allowed to wear like off the shoulder to prom or whatever.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we had like a dress code to enter our high school. They just had like be like coverage or like it needed a strap. Like it.
So
whatever.
I don't mean to cut you off. I
please
want to get
off.
this thought out.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing when it comes to the 16-year-old, the Catholic Men Club, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You were wearing something that ignited something within him,
yeah,
and that became your problem,
mm-hmm.
or he made it your problem by saying, don't you think you're wearing something a little short? And it's like, okay, you basically are telling me without telling me that like you're getting a boner from my outfit.
Mm-hmm.
That's really a you problem, not a me problem. And the second thing, who was it, an older woman that told you that
yes.
your outfit? that's classic. Like I can't wear that. You're wearing something that I could never wear, or like I missed when I had the ability to wear that. I think, not to psychoanalyze people I've never met, and I'm getting a secondhand story, but that's what I think it was happening there, and that is. Like when you grow up in organized religion, it's a lot of just projecting.
Well, the thing about it too is that in both of those instances, it was seen as what I was wearing was disrespectful.
Right. And you were doing something disrespectful.
And I was doing something disrespectful and therefore very wrong. Like my body was wrong and I didn't intend to be disrespectful. I was not one to go
that
against
actually goes against
the
everything
status
I
quo.
stand
Yeah.
for.
So like I took it so personally and was very,
like
very
in your
offended.
bones.
Yeah. Or not very offended. Just like, yeah, that sat in my bones. And I remember where those, I remember the hallway both of those conversations took place in, separate hallways. And because of course that like stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
And to this day, I still kind of do the fingertips.
Oh yeah, I find myself doing that too.
Yeah.
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 The idea for the listeners that doesn't know the Catholic speak that we're talking right now, the school uniform Catholic speak is putting your hands at your side. You're standing up straight, put your hands at your side, and having your shorts or your skirt fall no higher than where your fingertips, and that's like
that's your middle finger.
Yeah,
it
your
can't
middle.
be,
Yeah, you can't be doing no pinky.
Yeah.
It's your middle finger, and it can't go above your the length of the skirt or short cannot go above your middle finger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do think it's kind of a good rule. Like I just for for me that is a good gauge of like, okay, now I'm wearing something short. Like
Yeah.
I can wear things that are shorter than that, but I'm like in my head I'm still wearing like this is something short.
Well, I remember just always sort of having like a thicker bottom, just always being more of a curvier person. I remember doing the finger rule and still getting in trouble for the length of my skirt and
Yeah.
it being like, oh, I can't fucking win here.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
I guess, again, my body
Here wear
is
the
just
frumpiest
wrong.
pants you can find.
Yeah, the frumpiest pants or the longest skirt, which only makes you look more. Looking frumpy, I think, also makes you look bigger, which in the timeline that we're talking about here, like, you know, being in elementary school or high school in the early 2000s, like looking frumpy and looking big was like a cardinal sin.
Yeah.
You know? And I really do think, at least for me personally, the religious aspect of growing up does play into being insecure about your body, because there's like this idea of like not overindulging. You know, you are to be pure, and being pure also means like not carrying extra weight.
Yes, because that's also it's somehow disrespectful to be
Yes.
bigger.
Yes. Somehow. I don't know why.
Right.
But it is.
It's disrespectful. Disrespectful to be too small, but
It's almost
because also
like-
there's a whole thing with like being a Catholic woman is like being meek
Yes.
and being like subservient, and that also equates to the amount of literal space you take up.
Yep. I was like deep into my 20s when my therapist had to tell me like, you're allowed to and you're supposed to take up space. Like, she's like, even sitting here, you are physically keeping yourself small. Like, and I've noticed myself doing it now in my 30s, where I'll be in a space and I am trying to be as like tight and confined as possible, as to not be in the way. And like, if I do anything to call attention to myself in a way that is like, because obviously we love attention.
We love
performers.
attention,
Like, I
yes.
wouldn't be having a platform that goes on the internet if I didn't love attention. But like, if I'm walking and like knock something over or like bring attention to myself in any way that is not, it's like I'm being slapped across the face. Like, it hurts. It hurts.
Yeah, and so like I said, I grew up in like a very small body, and it's bigger now. But I kind of experienced the same thing with my ADHD, because I was loud. I was very loud, so I took up like vocal space. But I was almost like loud against my will. Like I couldn't control it so much, and I was like very heavily medicated so I could fit into
Right.
the spot. Like I could fit into a Catholic school, like, and be quiet and meek and whatever. And I kind of have this thing where I would take my medicine in the morning to get me through the day, and then I would have theater rehearsal or improv practice, and have it wear off about that time, and then I'd have to go back on medication so I could be like fun and goofy and silly, like my true personality, and then I would have to go back on medication to like do my homework. So I'd have like a 4-hour spot in the middle of the day where I was like allowed to and encouraged to be myself, but then the rest of the time I was too loud and took up too much space. And that's still something that, you know, so when I think like taking up space is okay, for me it's like vocally and whatever,
to just be yourself.
Just be myself. Because it was seen as like a very bad thing. And if I would forget to take a medication, like I would get called out and someone would be like, someone forgot to take their meds today.
Right. Which is like offensive.
Yeah, not great. Not nice. So yeah. And when I say, so like when I was like, oh, I have ADHD, like I don't know. And it's like to some people they're like, that's not like trauma. They're like,
no, that is totally
it's the way it was treated, and I was started when I was in 2nd grade, so I was like 6, 7. I think it was 7, and I was on like 20 milligrams a day
of like Ritalin.
Focalin.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, no, it's Ritalin made me like so, but it was like really early. There was no extended release. Like I was very young to be on it because I had these like horrible mood swings. I'm sure there was something else that they didn't find when they diagnosed me, but I had to go through like so much testing, and remember being in the therapy offices and whatever.
And you were young. You were 2nd grade.
Yeah.
And do you think at that point I don't know, it's 2nd grade. You don't really have an identity at 2nd grade, but I'm wondering if like maybe this played into your want to be such a good girl, because
100%
were taking all this time to be in the doctor's office and everything, and then once you kind of grow up, and I don't know, I think it fed into that.
So the way that I've kind of rationalized that like having ADHD made me a good girl was like I said earlier, for both my sister and I, we needed the rules, because even like it was like a very clear set of rules that this had made you a good person. So even if I was a little loud, even if I was like whatever, I had a very specific set of goals that I could aim for. And sex was scary anyway. I was like, what am I gonna do? Kiss a boy? That sounds crazy. What are you guys talking about?
Nuts.
I didn't have impure thoughts because I had never really seen anything impure, except for I do remember one time a Girls Gone Wild trailer or like infomercial thing came on in the middle of the night, and I couldn't find the remote, and I just sat there with my ear. I clogged my ears and I sobbed because I was like, I can't see this because then I'm not pure. Like even just like the Girls Gone Wild censored infomercial being on TV, I thought corrupted me. So I was very scared of like the outside world in that sense.
That's like so hard to avoid. Like it's just on in the middle of the night. Like you wake up after George Lopez and it's on.
And it's on. Exactly. And then I'd flip the channel and it'd be Tracy.
Talk about a lady gone wild.
Truly. So that was I do think that's why I really clung to Catholicism, because if I was like a holier than thou, whatever, like it helped me have this like identity. It's like, you might find me annoying, but God shouldn't. He's not supposed to, at least.
Yeah.
And so I just like didn't sin so much.
Yeah. So going back to you know, it sounds like senior year of high school, you were kind of, maybe junior, senior year of high school, you're kind of spiraling out. You have these classes, your plate is incredibly full. Now you're sort of going into like I'm too busy to eat, I'm not hungry. And then it became like this sense of control. So eventually it's all going to come to a head and the bottle's going to burst. So did that happen before college, while you were in college?
Before college, I saw a picture of myself at prom, and my arm was like very, very skinny. And also like, but like I couldn't really tell because like my whole life, nothing had really fit me properly.
Right.
Like literally until I went on birth control and my body was like, oh yeah, estrogen. We haven't really been doing a lot of that. So here's your hips and here's your boobs. And I was like, no, mostly because my clothes don't fit anymore. And that's so annoying. But I saw a picture of myself and I was like, ugh. I was like, is that really what I look like? And everyone's like, yes, we've been trying to tell you. And I went, okay. So that kind of snapped me out of it more or less. But then also, once all of the pressures of school were gone, like I didn't have anything to be, so like I felt like I had more control again. And then I went to college and I had never had like unfettered access to food.
Yeah. Which is a huge life change.
Huge life change.
And were you living on campus?
Yes. And I was like living next to our dining hall. And so I think it all kind of evened out, but feeding myself has always been difficult for me to this day. Difficult for me. Like, I don't plan well enough to have enough food in the house, so then I'll go out and have 4 pastries or a lot of wraps on the go. I really was an Uncrustable kid, and I'm kind of a current Uncrustable girl. Uncrustable woman. An Uncrustable woman. Invincible, no, Uncrustable. And nevertheless, she uncrusted. So that is something that I've had to learn. So I don't have like a bad relationship with food, I don't think, but I've never, is it an enemy? It's an enemy, but in a way where it's annoying. I feel like I'm foraging. Like, I'm always like, I've got to eat again.
Yeah,
Ugh.
it's like this like inconvenient part of life.
Yes.
And just because it sounds like you didn't have a good foundation.
No, it was never something I really cherished or whatever.
Food wasn't used as a celebration tool, as a tool to, self-soothe or anything like that.
No, not really.
Yeah.
I mean, like, you would celebrate some things and go out and eat, but like we would go to a steakhouse and that was never really like my jam. I was also an on and off childhood vegetarian, which I feel like is very Catholic. It's like a very Catholic thing to do, to be a childhood vegetarian.
It definitely plays to like the sick child in a basement.
Right, I know. I was really
anemic. In a word, anemic.
Yeah. So yeah, on and off childhood vegetarian because I felt the weight of climate change and the like mortality of animals.
Yeah.
And all of that, all creatures great and small vibes. I felt all of that was my responsibility. And then I went to college and I was studying fashion, and half of the fashion classes were here is how to get people to consume everything you're making, and the other half were, by the way, what you're making is really bad.
Yeah.
Which is good. We needed those classes about like sustainability and the circularity of the fashion industry and things like that. But that was like a lot to sit with.
You're just like a really emotional kid. You take in everything like a sponge.
Yes.
Like you take in like the environmental impact of the fashion industry, like you alone.
Yes.
Like literally take that in. I can see why you don't like horror movies, because like you can't take in that energy.
Right. And I've gotten a lot better. I like horror movies now.
That is a very vast improvement.
It's a vast improvement. Well, I used to be literally so scared. But the reason I didn't like horror movies is because hell is real, demons are real,
right?
Possession is real, all of that stuff.
Those are like my favorite horror movies to watch now.
No, I can't. I still can't do those. Like Ouija board stuff, I'm like, that's your own fault.
No,
I'm like, that is your own fault.
I'm with you on the Ouija board. A Ouija board is not allowed in this house. I do not fuck with that. Not at all.
I can do like a spirited tarot reading. Because that is, up for interpretation.
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
It's also calling in good energy,
It's calling in good energy, and I do think you hear what you need to hear from the card. Like, it's kind of like that coin toss thing, where the second you toss the coin, you know what you want the outcome to be.
Yeah.
And I think tarot kind of does the same thing. And I also think it's just not healthy to have, like, a very bad negative relationship with these things. Like, to be very scared of them, that's gonna
you call in
that. Or just like being afraid of things like tarot, that feels very like white centric, like because then it's like, oh, voodoo's bad, and like things, I don't know, things like that.
I hear what you're saying.
I just think that we're ingrained in me from a bad angle. And so I'm trying to open myself up to a lot of these things. Yeah, and I still believe in like, good energy and God, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, sorry, we got sidetracked, but you were talking about in college you were in fashion and you like the classes were like have people buy everything that you make. We want everyone to consume everything that you're creating, and then also like what you're doing is killing the planet.
Yeah.
And I think when I talk to people on this podcast, I notice a major like a pivotal point for people is the high school to college. And I think the freshman 15, the freshman bloat, whatever you want to call it, can deeply impact people that were otherwise used to having a very, very small frame. It sounds like you had to really sort of learn how to manage having this unfettered access to food at all hours of the day, whenever you want it. Did you find yourself like kind of splurging at first, or was it always like, I'm going to cautiously approach this?
No, I still cautiously approached it. I think, okay, I also have this thing with like value where I'm like, if it costs a whole meal swipe, I need to get everything that comes in the meal swipe.
Okay. Very frugal.
Very frugal. Yeah, I think I have the mindset of like a peasant. Like I was raised in the Dust Bowl or something.
Black mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was still pretty cautious about it though. Or I'd get things, but then I also like wanted to finish everything I got. I don't know. It was kind of a weird time. But I was adventurous. Like I would try all of the different stuff. I remember having like bibimbap for the first time and I was like, gourmet.
No, truly. I
like,
was in college. Thank God for like meeting people that weren't white. Like
Right.
literally like that's when I started eating things outside of, Italian, Polish, Irish food.
Right. So no, I don't know. I don't think a lot about my relationship with. I did for a time for a class go vegetarian.
Yeah.
Like for a fashion class. They were like, you have to do something for 60 days that reduces your carbon footprint. And I was like, literally the only thing I could do is like I eat. Like I don't really buy that many clothes. I don't really like, what else could I do? I lived in a sorority where, living in the sorority house was interesting because.
How many girls lived in the house?
90.
That's like bigger than your elementary school.
That's true. It is. That's true. We had 24/7 cereal, and I loved my 24/7 cereal because, not because I was partying or anything. I mean, I would like go out, but I worked at our like performing arts center, and so I'd like come back from shifts really late, and all I could have was cereal, and like. We had like a little kitchenette that always had like bread and you could like make a little sandwich or whatever, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And I'm just like thinking about all of the food that I had to do when I.
Did you guys have a chef?
We had a chef.
Wow.
So that was like a good, we had like a cafeteria, not a cafeteria, like a little dining room. But having a chef, that sounds so fancy. Like I lived in a mansion with a chef, but there was 90 people. I was like, it's more like a boarding house, and I like slept in something called a cold dorm, which is 50 bunk beds in one room with the windows open, lights are always off. I was an orphan. We slept in like little twin beds.
Yeah. Were you assigned a bunk, or did you like if you got into a fight with one of your girlfriends? Did she move her bunk?
No, it was kind of a mad dash to get them.
Yeah.
I think based on how many house points you had. So, and those points were based on like your involvement, how many clubs you were in, what if you were an officer in that club, whatever.
Standards. I'm sure it messed up your standing in the 50 bunk house.
Yes. So I was a very good girl who was very involved, and I had a leadership position. Oh, this is interesting. It doesn't really have to do with my body image, but it is very much a good girl. Good girl thing. I was guard of my sorority, which is like the secret keeper ritual chair.
Oh, yes.
And I have come to realize that was kind of the moment I was unconsciously stepping away from Catholicism, mostly because it was very difficult to get to church. Like, no one else was really going. Like, I had to go out of my way if I was going to go. And I would go for, like, the important things. But I also realized that I really liked the community that I had when I was going to church when I was in high school. And I just didn't feel the same way when I got there. I didn't feel the same way at all. So I was kind of like taking a step back, and I replaced religion with the secrets of my sorority.
You were born for the role.
Right. And I would literally get up and say things during chapter and be like, if you tell our secrets, this is just an expensive club. But if we keep our secrets, we're sisters.
They should have been like cutting you a check for how good of a job you were
I
doing.
was really into it, and like I really like respected everything.
I'm sure the girls loved that.
Well, the thing they disliked about me the most was there was something called pinwear, which when you're wearing the pin,
I was in a sorority.
Okay,
I'm aware.
There's a dress code. If
Yeah.
you're wearing the pin, there's a dress code, which is like your badge, which is like your, I don't know, this like little piece of jewelry that indicates you're the sorority, basically. If you're like not familiar with it at all, it's like a pin.
It's like a very subtle pin. It's
Yeah.
just a pin.
Just
but
a
you
pin.
have to only dress nice when
You
you
have to
wear
dress nice with it. And because I was a fashion student, they like didn't want me to win because they're like, she's just gonna judge all of our outfits, because I wouldn't let you into chapter if you weren't wearing pinwear. And
But you would get demerits for not going to chapter.
we get married. Well, also I'm like, you live in the house, go put a sweater on,
Yeah.
just go change. And some people just would put the pin on one dress and
That
leave
was
it on there,
Yeah.
and they just wear that every week.
Which is like,
But I would be
Kinda
like,
smart.
there's no, I'm like, you can't wear a jean jacket. There's no denim allowed. Go change. And actually, but I was like, I don't want to say a figure in the sorority, but I will say when I was running for guard, there was 2 of us on the ballot, and literally before the votes, the other person stood up and went, I don't want to run against Sydney. So I won by default. She's like, I don't want to, like, she didn't want to publicly lose, because she probably would have lost. So yeah, but I was like really into it. I like really respected the ritual. It was like sacred to me, truly, after being with some of these girls I didn't like. Some of them were like actively mean to me, and it was still so important to me to have something to cling to,
yeah.
to make my identity, and like the secrets and all of that. Like what to most of the other girls was the most important annoying part of the sorority.
Yeah.
Besides like scholarship and standards and like all of that stuff, was something that I really thrived in. So I've come to find out that I need something to respect, or else I don't know who I am. But I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing.
I think it's something to check yourself on.
Something to check myself on, like what at the time it is. But
I'm
not the first one to do this.
No, I fully relate to you, honestly, because as you're telling your story, I'm thinking about my experience in a sorority. Now, granted, I went to a state college in New Jersey. Sororities, very different. We didn't have houses. Like, it was much smaller. But the cat scared me. He's just breathing. But I was very into, like, this is our mission. Like, I identified with being in my sorority very, very much, and I really wanted to respect it. And I would be very annoyed when people weren't respectful of the institution of the sorority. And in looking back, I realized that a lot of my identities, whether it's with religion or whether it's with my sorority or whatever, kind of plays into the occult mentality of being exclusive and feeling like I'm better because I am a part of this group. And I felt that with Catholicism, and I definitely felt that with my sorority. And I think that's why as an adult, I kind of look back and I try to give myself grace, but I really roll my eyes at myself because I'm like, I really thought I was better than other people because I was affiliated with these groups. And I'm not saying these things are cults, but it goes into the cult mentality of I'm better, I'm other, I'm part of a group that you have to work hard to get into, and that's
or that you can't even get into.
that yes, you have to be chosen.
Yeah.
Like, it's an exclusive club, and I can't believe that these girls would even want me in their club. I feel like I'm painting a negative picture. I would not be the person I am today if it wasn't for my sorority, because like we had to have a pledge goal, like what do you want out of this process? And mine was confidence. And I wouldn't have gotten it without the sorority. I wouldn't have gotten it if I didn't, work to get into this organization. That's not to say that I agree with, the entirety of the process, or even whatever, Greek life in general. I think that it can breed a lot of toxicity, and at times not be very safe, and all that stuff that I now as a 31-year-old woman can see. But when I was 18, none of that shit meant anything to me. I was I was 18 when I, got into my sorority. So yeah, sorry.
No, I concur, and I wouldn't be the same person without mine. Would I let my daughter join a sorority? Let is a strong term. If she made a good case of why she wanted to do it, and I felt like that accurately reflected my experience, she had a good grasp of what it was, or whatever. Yeah. My child would want to join Greek life. I don't think I really knew what it was. I will say that I was still very, very much a goody two shoes. Like I said, I was in a sorority for a year without drinking.
Yeah.
And a lot of my sorority was going out and drinking, which is why I really liked being guard, because I was like, this is what makes us a sorority instead of just girls partying.
Right.
And I think that was, I don't think they all disliked me. I do think that I had friends. I was I was a class clown, but also very serious.
It's all balanced. You would have been, I don't know what your organization called it, but we called it risk management. You would have been an amazing risk management chair. Risk management was the person that if there was a mixer with the fraternity, coordinated the sober rides and designated drivers and all that, and just made sure everything was on the up and up and safe. You would have been so fucking good at that.
I would have, but everyone that we had that in that role really did not
No, it was hell. I was risk management for a semester. It was literal hell.
Awful.
No, it was awful.
Well, they didn't want me talking to the frats.
Why?
I wasn't cool.
Oh, okay.
Oh, obviously.
No, I didn't connect that.
No, they didn't want me talking to the guys in the frats. I also didn't respect any man who joined a frat. So
right,
that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
That was pretty rough on their part. I was because I saw them all as predators. I was all of you want to make out with me, and I won't allow it unless I secretly really like you, because I don't know how to have a normal crush on somebody, because I had a serious boyfriend for 4 years in high school, so serious I never saw his penis.
Yeah.
Because we were going to get married, and then we didn't get married, and then I was what am I supposed to do? Okay, that's not even where I was going with this. I was going to say my sorority shaped me into who I was, because I was such a goody two-shoes, and that's simply I was confronted with so many things and people from different backgrounds and X and Y and Z, and I'd never been around people who drank, and I was anyone who drinks has a death wish. Literally to me it was the hardest drug you could do, and it was just dangerous, and I'd only heard these horrible things, and I was really not informed about anything, because at my Catholic school they made it sound like one drink will kill you. One hit of marijuana will kill you. I had never been around it or anybody engaging with it in a safe way, and I do think that was important for me to learn. I think people I know having hookups and it being normal, I needed to see all of that. There's a lot of different types of people I don't think I would have met unless I was in the sorority, because they're all hussies. Doesn't it sound like I'm just all of these sluts and whores and drug addicts that I met in my sorority, they would maybe take an edible once a month. It was
truly.
So calm.
Yeah.
Although one time we were on a boat and there was cocaine, and I was if you're in this sorority, everybody off this boat.
The hard line in the sand.
Hard line.
Okay.
Well, mostly because I was arrested. We're all gonna get arrested. Yeah.
There is legal implications.
There's legal implications here.
But what was the catalyst to be all right, I can have a drink?
Yeah. Okay. So going into my sophomore year of college, that summer, I had a high school boyfriend, and he broke up with me so dramatically. Oh my God. It was Ash Wednesday, and it was over Zoom because he went to DePaul University, and I went to Indiana University, and he broke up with me on Ash Wednesday over Zoom. Ash was on my forehead, tears streaming down my face. I was like, you can't do this to me. I don't know who I am without you.
He said, for Lent, I'm giving up you.
Essentially, yeah. He said, I wrote you a letter. Don't talk to me until you read it, until you get it in the mail. Yeah, broke up with me on Ash Wednesday.
He got corrupted by DePaul.
He did. He had a beer.
Wow.
It was like, you're drinking now. I don't know who you are. And he's like, you're in a sorority. He's like, I don't think
you
could
are.
He's like, I couldn't date somebody in a sorority. Like, they're all vapid. And I think I kind of also thought all sorority girls are vapid. And I was like, crap, they're smart and pretty.
Yeah.
Ugh, how annoying is
they're
that?
actually such a
They're
good
actually
time.
so smart. And it's also not about being just smart. Like, I learned that they were like, I've never seen that many women in my life. And I was like, there's so many facets to making somebody successful. Their goals were very different. I'd never experienced things like that. Anyway, he actually spiked a drink at a party we were at. He spiked my drink. He's like, I think it's time you start drinking. And he spiked my drink. My ex-boyfriend.
Wow. Because you guys like were friends after a little bit. Okay.
Yeah. Well, just like when we were all home, we
like
ran in the same circle. There's like 12 of us.
So he said, try this.
Well, he just like gave me a drink. And I didn't know he had spiked it. And then later, he literally had his friend hold me down. And he was like, we have something to tell you. By the way, there was alcohol in that. And then I thought I was going to get arrested. I thought I was so drunk. And then I was like, maybe I'll be a bad girl. Sure. So I did.
It's actually kind of fun.
Well, no. I think I was just like, have you ever seen the movie Teeth?
Yes.
It's like, she's like, well, I'm corrupted now. Nothing else to be done. Yeah. And that's exactly how I felt. Would you want to go see the musical with me? Yes, let's do it. Okay, I would really like to do that. Teeth is, I was the girl from Teeth at the beginning with the bedazzled shirts, like performative purity culture. Yeah. I was like, this movie is rad. And everyone's like, why do you think? I was like, Teeth is so good. Teeth is amazing. Highly recommend. Anyway, go watch Teeth. I think that should be mandatory watching for this episode.
Yeah, totally. Yep.
So where was I even going with this?
So you're like, okay, I'm already bad.
Oh, I'm already bad.
Yeah.
So I did the baddest thing I've ever done.
Tell me.
The baddest thing I've ever done. There was like 5 of us. And we were like, let's go pool hopping in the neighborhood, which is where you try to break into people's pools.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know this was a thing. And there was a water bottle of warm, crinkled up vodka. I just burped so loud. My body was like trying to get the demons out. And we went around and tried to get into people's pools. And we had this water bottle full of vodka. And that is just like all of the rules being broken all at the same time. Yeah. And I was in a swimsuit.
I mean,
I which is like not, like that is bad girl territory. And a dog came out at one of the houses. And the lights turned on, and I thought that this dog was gonna bark at me, but it was this like big English bulldog, and it just licked my leg for like 4 minutes, and I was like, someone's gonna come out. And we kind of like got away with it. It ended up being totally fine. But the anxiety that caused me, I think, has grayed my hair.
Yeah.
Just that specific night, and then I was like, okay, I don't want to do that ever again.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, peer pressure is dumb. I think peer pressure is dumb, and I don't think I liked doing that. But fun fact, the first house we broke into ended up being the house of my like best friend and roommate of 2 years when I got to college, like randomly.
Invisible string.
Yeah, like so I went to her house and I was like, oh my God, I've broken into your pool before. Because she ended up being the next door neighbor of someone I went to high school with.
That's amazing.
Isn't that wild? Shout
love
out to you,
that.
Abby Matt.
Wow.
And she's like, that's so funny and so not you. And I was like, that's the first and last time I ever did that.
Yeah. One of my sorority sisters asked me, they were like, did the sorority corrupt you? And I was like, no. The sorority let out the, I don't want to say demon, but the sorority let out all the things that I wanted to try. Mm-hmm. And then I sort of became the person that was like, I'll try it once. You know?
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And so I'm really grateful to my sorority for that. And I think it's really funny how we look at things like hopping into people's pools and I don't know, just little things.
I was like, this is trespassing. We're going to get arrested.
Yeah, no. like there's legal implication here. Like because the first time I ever drank alcohol was prom weekend.
You were in high school?
I know. I was like, you're like a few weeks shy of
Yeah, graduating.
And like that, like what you just said would be the thing that stopped me from like wanting to drink because like, or like the thing that stopped me from like wanting to have sex because it's like, oh, like you're not a virgin anymore, And I remember having this feeling after the fact, after the weekend was over, of like still having this feeling of like, what if my parents find out though? No way for them to find out whatsoever.
Right.
But like, I thought it was funny how you said the experience of jumping into pools like gave you gray hair.
Yeah.
Like, literally the experience of drinking prom weekend, which ended up being like 4 shots of Smirnoff. Like it really wasn't anything.
Oh, I don't think I actually swallowed any of the alcohol in the bottle. I think I like put it in my mouth.
Digestion starts in the mouth. Your body, your body intook some of it.
Okay, fair. But I think I would just like the way.
No,
like,
totally.
I don't smoke cigarettes. I just kind of like.
Yeah.
It's for the looks. I don't light it. You know the Will Smith getting jiggy with it line.
Yeah.
Do you?
I know the song.
Okay. It's a very specific line. He's like, it's just for the looks. I don't light it. He just like has a cigarette. Anyway, that's kind of how I felt. Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
The sorority allowed me to. So then when I got back to school, that was the last time I drank. That summer.
Yeah.
That's the last time I put the water bottle to my lips for the summer.
Yeah.
But then I got to school and I was like, okay, like I feel good with these people. I feel safe with these people. Like, let's give this a go. And I still never really, I was not the kind of girl that got like very drunk. Oh, there is a video of me. The first time I drank red wine and I'm crying and I'm like, it tastes like the blood of Christ.
Oh my God, stop it. I cannot.
But then that night later, I did the Brittany tuck with my shirt and then just did pageant walks around the dining room, and everyone thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever seen.
You just
like,
let you be you.
I was like that is me. Like at its core is a girl with a Brittany tuck.
Yeah.
Like I took my shirt and flipped it. Like, do you tuck it up?
Baby,
Google,
one more time.
Yes, the Brittany tuck, and I had these like high heel shoes on. And it was actually at my big's birthday, but my big was 2 years older than me. It was at my big's birthday, and they gave me like 2 shots of Captain, and it was literally Fireball, and I went, ugh! And then was like, this is poison, it's disgusting. And I was like, I don't even think I can drink. It just tastes so bad.
Even like a devil on the bottle.
There's a devil on the bottle. It's made of antifreeze.
Yeah.
And they're like, woo, Syd's drinking. But I also think, unfortunately for me, that was part of it too, is that it was so novel to see me drinking that I was like, I like this attention.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Totally.
So, I don't know. When it comes down to it, I liked the feeling of like attention. Like I was very much a teacher's pet. Like all of that.
Honest, coming from a former teacher's pet, being a teacher's pet felt like a matter of survival. Like I need this person to like me. Yeah.
Yes. Especially when like it came to academics, because that was our job. And I was like, I need to be liked. And in sorority, not everyone liked me, and there are people I like butted heads with. It was a lot of like interpersonal things I don't think I ever would have learned outside. I will say it was so expensive. And I could have learned those things maybe elsewhere.
Yeah, for a little bit less.
For a little bit less money. Like, it was a Big 10, yeah. So we have the largest, Indiana University has the largest Panhellenic association in the country.
Which
we have
is
the
like
most.
thousands of dollars to be a part of those organizations.
Oh, yeah. Well, also, I was paying.
A few hundred.
Okay, I was paying to like live in the house.
Yeah, totally. It's like you're
and
boarding
it was, like,
and
all
everything.
Of these things. So, it was
Okay, I have one more question that's a twofold, and it's about Catholicism, and it's just of the season, and I've only thought of it now after our conversation.
Yeah.
We are in the season of Lent.
We are.
So when, and maybe you still do it, but if you're not still doing it, what was the last year that you remember doing it? Like, how old were you? And what was like one of the in the vein of like something that you've given up for Lent, like what was the craziest thing, or what thing would you often give up? Like for me as a kid, it was always like one year I gave up cartoons or TV, but every other year it was always like something to do with like candy or limiting. It always had something to do with weight loss for me.
Which is a very common
Yeah.
thing. We have all been there. I would regularly become a vegetarian for Lent.
Okay.
And I would also, my high school boyfriend was gluten-free. So I would go gluten-free for 40 days, which was not great in hindsight, like kind of unhealthy. Like you can't, like if you're going to be eating gluten, you shouldn't like restrict and then come back. And then like, cause I remember I had a rainbow brownie, you know, like a cosmic brownie.
Love those.
On midnight on Easter, and it made me like throw up.
Yeah.
I felt so sick. Same when I gave up meat for 40 days, and then the first thing I wanted was an In-N-Out burger. I was in California for Easter, and it was so salty, I like almost choked on it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, maybe those things are full of poison, and that's why they tasted so bad to me. But I did that a lot, and I was like, I'm a martyr, I'm a good girlfriend, like I'm going gluten-free with you, yada yada yada. And then I was always on and off childhood vegetarian, so any reason that could sort of prompt me to do it, I would do.
You'd be down.
I'd be down. I don't remember what the last year I did. I probably did do it my freshman year of college. And it was something, it was probably meat or gluten. Or maybe I tried to do something, but I got broken up with on Ash Wednesday, and I was just like absolutely trying to survive.
Yeah.
For those 40 days, like until Easter, I was in my own dark place. I was in my own desert. It like really rocked me to my core because I thought we were going to get married.
I
like,
can imagine.
all of this stuff. And I think he just got the sense knocked into him a little bit earlier than I did.
As boys do.
As boys do. But I was just like, this person loved me so much, and now they don't love me anymore.
Yeah. It's devastating. Oh my God. That heartbreak at that age. Oh my God. Devastating.
Yeah. So.
Brain chemistry altering.
Yeah. What was your last year of Lent?
My last year, I don't remember like a specific Lent. And for me, it was more of like a slow fade. It was like I would try. And then.
Right. Oh, I think for years, I think this is a kind of common phenomenon. You would give something up and just be like, for the first week, you would change it like 3 times. You're like, well, I haven't actually done that thing yet in Lent, so I can just make that my new thing, and that's my new thing.
Right.
You're right, I haven't had rice cakes, so it's now rice cakes I'm giving up for Lent, or it is chocolate milkshakes. Okay, I haven't had a milkshake, so that is still something that I could have given up because it was so important, instead of like stumbling and coming back and like trying again, which is a better lesson.
Exactly. But Jesus went 40 days and 40 nights without food and water. So you have to pick something.
Right.
Hard and concrete.
What's interesting is that he was actually God. So he was good without the food and water.
Yeah. That's the whole thing about him.
Did they make you fast at school?
No. I mean, I went to Catholic school, but I don't remember it being like... I remember teachers, like, lamenting about, I need some water.
Right.
It's 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, and I have to be more fasting today. We always did the no meat on Friday, always.
Mm-hmm. And Ash Wednesday.
They
would only serve soup in the cafeteria on Ash Wednesday, so they basically made everybody fast. If you needed food, you had to bring other things.
No,
yeah.
I didn't know. That's nuts. To only serve soup.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Just a vegetable soup that everyone had to eat the vegetable soup on Ash Wednesday.
Yeah, not the Weight Watchers one, though.
No, because they would just make vats of whatever they made, and it wasn't bad. It just wouldn't have much flavor. But.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't that bad. You were starving.
Right.
Anything is not that bad when you're starving.
I guess that's true. But yeah, it would only be water, and I think on Fridays they would also they would only have water, and they wouldn't serve any meat in the cafeteria. I don't know.
And the no meat on Fridays thing is something I did into my adulthood. Like I was living in New York.
Yep.
Not doing meat on Fridays. And I remember one time, we got to wrap up, but I remember one time, it was a Lenten Friday, and I had like literally the only thing I'd eaten that day is some sushi for lunch. Like at my job, got up, had gotten some sushi, and then my roommate and I, at the time, we went out that night. I black out, and I wake up and I'm like, I literally only ate sushi yesterday. And my roommate's like, no fucking shit. You blacked out. Like, come on. And then the next Friday, she's like, better fucking watch it. Like, you better eat something, substantial before we go out tonight. So I definitely, but that was probably maybe only the first year of living here. And life comes at you fast, man. Like I have been, I have a day job. I'm trying to do comedy. I'm trying to do whatever. The little like nagging voice in the back of my head that used to be like, oh, you're really about to have a chicken Caesar wrap on a London Friday is so gone.
It's gone.
It is so fucking gone because I have to pay taxes. I'm too fucking busy.
Right.
You know?
No, but it is weird that the voice has gone. I was like, I'm like, am I a bad person because the voice is gone? And I'm like, oh, and there's the voice again. It never like
it
fully
never really, absolutely
goes
and
away. But
yeah, totally.
I do think now I'm like, I'm just trying to be the nicest person I can be.
Yeah.
I'm just like I don't know. People don't like me more or less. I don't think it's just the meat thing doesn't make me more or less of a good person. And for a long time, like I said, those rules made me good. And instead of just like my actual behavior, because I think I was kind of a bitch, but I wouldn't eat meat.
In the
I
name
didn't
of
kiss.
the Lord,
Right.
In the name of the Lord.
Do you know that I used to slap people?
Really?
If they cursed, I would slap them.
Yeah.
I'd call it profanity slaps. It's like God doesn't want you to curse.
You're justified in that because it's backed by God.
Right, exactly. And so this is unfortunately a joke in my set. I'm sorry, I've workshopped on you. Where I would slap people, and I was like, God doesn't want you to curse, and God was up there like, stop slapping people.
Stop slapping people.
Stop slapping people. Stop fucking slapping people.
You're assaulting
And
people.
right, and I didn't curse, I didn't drink, I didn't like do all these things, but I don't think I was a great person.
It's kind of like Amanda Bynes' character in Easy A.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? I think
Yeah,
that was
it's Amanda Bynes.
Yeah. Yeah. She was like a bitch, but she was like...
In the name of Jesus. Same as Saved.
Yeah, Saved.
Same kind of thing. And now I'm like, let's just focus on being nice. And if we can fit other stuff in.
Yeah, that's
we'll
great.
Get there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Syd, this has been an amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Of course. This has been very fun.
Please, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at SYD_the_King, Syd the King. Not a vain thing. It's my last name. You can find Good Girls Gone Sad, the podcast Kelly has been on and mentioned, which is co-hosted by Becca Stevenson and Becca Stevenson Ryan. Sorry, she is a married woman now.
Former guest, friend of the show.
Yes, and you can find her and us on all podcast platforms and TikTok.
Yes,
it's probably
very
where
great
you'd find
TikTok.
us on TikTok. Yeah, I'm also on a sketch team called Fun and Moderation. If you would like to come do sketch,
I love that.
And then I'm also like in the background of SNL sometimes. So maybe you'll just like catch me eating a salad behind Dakota Johnson.
Hell yeah. Amazing. Well, Syd, I can't thank you enough for coming on and being so open and just candid with me. And
in this Lenten season, an honor.
I mean, come on, that is just kismet. Like I didn't even plan that. That is just amazing. Oh my God. All right, guys. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.